C# history. This is part 1 of C# history. C#, pronounced C#, is a programming language that is latest, flexible. It is made by Microsoft. Let's travel through its inspiring journey. C# is an object-oriented programming language that supports 4 main pillars of OOP: abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. It run on .NET Framework. Its history start from late 1990s. When Microsoft initiated Project Cool in the late 1990s, the development of C# can be traced back. For Windows application development, there was a need of a project that aimed to create a new, modern, and safer language. The July 1999 was a year when C# was officially introduced to the public by Microsoft at the Professional Developers Conference, PDC. For the Microsoft's .NET initiative, it was seen as a key component and was designed to provide a joint platform for building Windows applications. As part of the .NET framework, C# was released in 2002. This was made for building and running Windows and web applications as a comprehensive platform. For multiple programming languages, including C#, the .NET framework provided a common runtime environment. C# 1.0 was officially released in January 2002 as part of Visual Studio.NET. This marked the first stable version of the language. C# 2.0 was launched in November 2005 with Visual Studio 2005 and .NET Framework 2.0. C# 2.0 introduced several enhancements, including generics, partial classes, anonymous methods, nullable value types, iterators, covariance and contravariance. C# generics allow us to create a single class or method, interfaces, methods, and delegates that can be used with different types of data. Generics enable you to write more flexible and reusable code by allowing you to create components that can work with any data type. C# partial classes allow us to split a class, a struct, a method, or an interface into multiple parts with the same class name into a CS file and with a partial keyword. An anonymous method is a method which doesn't contain any name, which is introduced in C# 2.0. In C#, an anonymous method allows you to define a method inline without explicitly declaring a separate named method. It's particularly useful when you need a method as a delegate parameter, such as for event handling or LINQ queries. In C#, nullable types are a feature introduced to allow value types, such as int, double, bool, etc., to have a value of null, in addition to their normal range of values. This is particularly useful in scenarios where you need to represent the absence of a value or where a value might legitimately be undefined. In C#, iterators provide a convenient way to iterate over collections or sequences of data. They allow you to define custom iteration behavior for your classes, similar to how you use for each with built-in collections like arrays or lists. C# 3.0 was launched in November 2007 with Visual Studio 2008 and .NET Framework 3.0, 3.5. C# 3.0 brought significant language improvements, such as lambda expressions, extension methods, and the LINQ, Language Integrated Query, framework. In C#, anonymous types are a way to create objects without explicitly defining a class. They are defined using the var keyword and an object initializer. Anonymous types are often used in LINQ queries to hold temporary, read-only data. Their properties are inferred by the compiler and cannot be modified after creation. A query is a set of instructions that describes what data to retrieve from a given data source, or sources, and what shape and organization the returned data should have. A query is distinct from the results that it produces. In C#, lambda expressions are anonymous functions that can contain expressions or statements and are used to create delegates or expression tree types. In C#, extension methods allow you to add new methods to existing types without modifying their source code or creating a new derived type. This is particularly useful when working with types you don't have control over, like .NET Framework classes or third-party libraries. In C#, an implicitly typed local variable is declared using the var keyword, which allows the compiler to infer the variable's type at compile time based on the value assigned to it. An object initializer in C# is a syntax feature that lets you create and initialize an object in a single statement, without having to explicitly call a constructor followed by separate property assignments. A collection initializer in C# lets you create and populate a collection, like a list, dictionary, etc., in a single statement, making the code more concise and readable. C# 4.0 was launched in April 2010 with Visual Studio 2010 and .NET Framework 4.0. C# 4.0 added dynamic typing, optional and named parameters, and COM interop improvements. Dynamic binding in C# refers to resolving method calls or member access at runtime instead of compile time. This is achieved using the dynamic keyword introduced in C# 4.0. C# supports two useful method features, named parameters and optional parameters. Named parameters gives us a facility to specify arguments by parameter name, not just by position. This improves readability and allows skipping the need to remember parameter order. Optional parameters allow you to leave out arguments when calling a method. You assign default values in the method definition. Covariance and contravariance allow flexibility in assigning generic types when working with inheritance hierarchies, especially with interfaces and delegates. Covariance allows a method to return a more derived type than originally specified. Contravariance allows a method to accept arguments of a less derived type. C# 5.0 was launched in August 2012 with Visual Studio 2013 and .NET Framework 4.5. C# 5.0 introduced asynchronous programming support with the async and await keywords and caller info attributes. In C#, async and await are used to perform asynchronous programming, allowing your program to run tasks without blocking the main thread, such as I/O operations, web requests, or file reads. Caller info attributes in C# provide metadata about the caller of a method, such as the file name, line number, and member name, at compile time. These are especially useful for logging, debugging, and diagnostics. C# 6.0 was launched in July 2015 with Visual Studio 2015 and .NET Framework 4.6. C# 6.0 included features like null conditional operators, expression-bodied members, and string interpolation. Static import in C#, introduced in C# 6.0, allows you to import static members, methods, properties, constants, etc., from a class so you can use them without qualifying them with the class name. Exception filters in C# allow you to conditionally catch exceptions based on a logical expression, without handling the exception unless the condition is true. Auto property initializers let you assign default values to auto-implemented properties directly at the point of declaration, without needing to use a constructor. Expression-bodied members in C# allow you to define methods, properties, constructors, etc., using a single-line expression with the equals greater than, lambda style, syntax instead of full block syntax. The null propagation operator, in C# lets you safely access members, properties, methods, indexers, etc., of an object that might be null, without throwing a null reference exception. String interpolation in C# allows you to insert variables or expressions directly into a string using the dollar symbol and curly braces. It's a cleaner, more readable alternative to string format or string concatenation. The nameOf operator in C# returns the name of a variable, type, or member as a string, without hardcoding the name manually. It helps make your code safer and easier to refactor, especially in logging, exceptions, and validation. C# 7.0, C# 7.1, C# 7.2 was launched in 2017, 2018 with Visual Studio 2017 and .NET Core 2.0. C# 7.0 introduced pattern matching, local functions, and tuples, among other language enhancements. C# 7.1 was a minor update, adding features like async main methods and tuple projection initializers. The tuples feature provides concise syntax to group multiple data elements in a lightweight data structure. The following example shows how you can declare a tuple variable, initialize it, and access its data members. Pattern matching in C# is a feature that allows you to check the shape, type and properties of data and conditionally extract values from it, in a safe, readable, and expressive way. Local functions in C# are functions defined inside another method. They're useful when a helper method is only needed within the context of that method, keeping code organized and scoped locally. Ref locals allow you to create a reference to a variable or array element, so that when you modify the reference, the original value changes directly. They are useful when you want to work with large data efficiently or change data in place without copying. A ref return allows a method to return a reference to a variable, instead of a copy. This means the caller can directly modify the original value stored in the calling scope, like an array element, field, or variable. A discard in C# is represented by the __. It's used when you don't care about a value, such as when you're ignoring part of a tuple, a return value, or an out parameter. It's a way to make your code cleaner and clearer, showing that a value is intentionally unused. Binary literals was introduced in C# 7.0. Binary literals use the prefix 0b to represent numbers in binary format. In digit separators you can use underscores, underscore, to visually separate digits in numeric literals, making them easier to read. It works in binary, decimal, and hexadecimal number. In C#, throw expressions are a more concise way to throw exceptions. Introduced in C# 7.0, throw expressions allow you to throw exceptions directly in expressions such as conditional operators, smiley face null coalescing operators, and lambda expressions. This is different from the traditional throw statements, which are typically used on their own line. The async main method is a feature introduced in C# 7.1 that allows the main entry point of a console application to be asynchronous. This is useful when you want to use await in the main method without blocking the thread, which is cleaner and avoids potential deadlocks. In C#, default literal expressions, introduced in C# 7.1, allow you to use default without specifying the type explicitly when the compiler can infer the type. Inferred tuple element names is a feature introduced in C# 7.1 that allows the compiler to automatically use variable names as tuple element names when creating a tuple. No need to explicitly name them. Thank you. This is end of part 1.